Hello and welcome to another live stream. I'm going to have a go at painting this scene here. This is a scene in France with my wife Kate walking two dogs. I painted this scene quite a few years ago. I'll share the painting on Patreon so you can see where I was. I think it was probably about 2017, 2018, something like that maybe. But I concentrated more on just the figure with the dogs. But on this demo, I'm going to paint the whole scene. So let's get started. So let me know in the comments if you're watching live. If you're watching the replay, say hi anyway, and let us know what you think. And obviously ask any questions if you've got any questions. So let's move over to the other camera. So, so I'm all set up. This is a wooden panel. It's about 8 inches by 10 inches, so not huge. And the figure's actually quite small in comparison with the whole scene. So I think I'll start with the figure because, this needs to be accurate. The cars need to be accurate, but the rest of it can be quite sort of loose, really. So I'll start with the hat. So I can see it's kind of a yellow colour, but I can see it's got red in there. So just a little bit of yellow, red and white. So somewhere to start. Hello, Greg. Good afternoon to you. So more red. So I'm going to try and go as accurate as I can with the figure and well, the whole painting, and try and get it as close to the scene as possible. So literally just lay that paint on. It's quite small, this is, so I'll do the figure first because I can then cut around with the trees in the background to sharpen up the edge. So I want sharp edges around the figure. This is kind of the focal point here, but I can be quite loose elsewhere. So I'll keep that brush for the lighter areas. I haven't got many small brushes out, so that'll do. I'll keep one for light and darker areas. So we've got the shadow on the hat, which is not as dark as that. So the colours I've got here are titanium white, cadmium yellow pale, Zaran crimson, ultramarine blue, burnt umber, and a bit of rouge violet, phthalo blue, and a bit of turquoise, but darker than that. So it's very important I get the tones right here where the hat is, because the eye is going to go here. So if I get this wrong, it's not going to look good. So light against dark, that's what's going to make the feel of sunshine. So there's the hat. So hello to Squeezing Limes and Randa. On with the figure here. So it's more red there, that which is quite a bit of a suntan there. But this was a trip quite a few years ago because we had both dogs. We've only got the one dog now. He's still going, Alfie. Alfie's that one on the right hand side. But they used to set each other off, and he's actually gone to go and live with Kate's parents, who are actually just down the road. So they get to see each other regularly, and but it's certainly easier having the one dog rather than the two. So doesn't look right, the colour I've just put on there, but I've checked it and it's pretty good. Could be doing a bit more red maybe. But things like the arm and the bag here, I'll end up just painting that all into one. So I've started off with a fairly accurate drawing that you do need accuracy in your drawing, because no amount of good painting will make up for a bad drawing. I think we're going to need some cadmium red. Got some of this Michael Harding Scarlet Lake. That's a good one. Nice bright red. So it'll be a little bit fiddly with the figure here, and then it'll be a lot quicker when I move on to the rest of the scene. So that's brighter than what's actually on the photo, but why not? Let's go a little bit brighter with that red. So just a little touch of red like that will really pop. But if I put too much red in, it will lose its effect. So just do a little test. So yeah, so it's not actually red at all. It looks red, but you know, it's more sort of brown really. And then the straps, there's a bit of purple in those, but no, we don't really need to worry about that sort of level of detail. So there we go. Same on the trousers, that it's lighter on one side. So when I come to do the editing of this video and put it on Patreon, I'll zoom in and you'll be able to have a close-up view of this. But hopefully if you're watching it on a big screen, maybe it'll be visible. It's quite small, this is, but I'll perhaps try and zoom in at the end anyway. So light there, just kind of look at the shape. You know, I'm ignoring what I know is there, just concentrating on the shape. In with the dark, and if I continue this method of putting the right colour, the right tone in the right place, you know, I'll finish this painting in an hour. You know, it's quite a complex painting. But obviously I'm aware the football's on. I don't know if you lot are into football, but the quarterfinals are on tonight, later today, so I need to make sure I finish in time for those who want to watch that. Probably will watch it myself. But, it's starting to take shape. Hello Martin and SK. So we've got the bag here. We might as well paint the whole figure, get that done, you know, and then we can move on to something else. So I tend to find I quite often will go for painting the fiddly stuff first because I'm full of energy to paint. But you know, half an hour into this, I'll start to get a bit tired, and then you know, become a bit lazy. And if you've done the hard stuff first, you know, it's easier. Obviously, you can have a break and come back to it, but I'm not very good at that. I kind of want the painting done in one go. So don't really need to put details in at this stage, but I'll just do that there. So I'm using quite a small brush. I've got the leg here. So the highlight on the leg is kind of tells us what she's doing. She's walking. That, you know, I don't need to be painting you know, details on here. Just that the little highlight there will be enough to let us know that that's a leg. And then it's darker on the inside, and we've got a little bit of a highlight on the shoulder there, and down the side of that arm there. So darker in here, but again, all I've got to do is just check. You know, I've lost my drawing a little bit there, but it's a loose impressionistic painting. That's fine. You can see their legs and the feet. Just a dark, so the blue and the brown makes a nice dark. There's one foot. There's the other one there. We'll do the dogs afterwards. We'll have a break from that. But we'll come back to that. So that's looking okay. So to tone my canvas, I used acrylic gesso with a bit of burnt umber. And this is just a wooden panel, so it's had a couple of coats on there. So where to go next? Let's do the trees here. These are nice big shapes, nice and easy to do. So green, yellow and blue is a good place to start. So just do a little test. This is a laminated photo. Makes life a lot easier. With this, it's a fairly limited palette, so that I'm mainly going to be using these colours here, my main sort of go-to colours. These are because I perhaps want to throw some interesting colours in some shadows. But it makes mixing colours so easy because, you know, the green here, it's too dark. So I've got two options. I can lighten it with white, or I can lighten it with yellow. If I lighten it with white, it's going to go very sort of pastel-y and towards blue, which I don't want because there's no sunshine. So yellow is my only option. So it just takes away all that decision making by having a limited palette. So we'll start fairly thin here. And I've drawn in kind of, this was the sort of the lighter area I saw of the tree. And it's lighter perhaps down there off in the distance. That's that path there. So be careful around there on the hat. And then it's darker in here. But well, I've got some light colour paint. Oh, don't want that much. We'll do the light areas and I'll put some darker areas in. So again, there's only one blue really as an option. The phthalo blue would just be too powerful. I'll only use that in certain areas, maybe in the shadows, but I may not even use it. We'll see how the painting goes. So again, I've got some lighter greens here, through there. So this is where the light is hitting that green. And we'll put some darker in. So I'll keep that brush for that green. So I'll use a different brush to go with the darker green. So blue, brown, that makes my sort of black, but it's not going to be black. It might be in the photo, but I know it'll have green in there, so I'll add a bit of yellow. Tonally, that's pretty good. So we've got this trunk there, tree. So I'll just treat it as a flat shape, and it's quite good to have the dark here around the hat because that's going to make that figure really stand out. And I'll probably come back in here and put more detail on this tree, but I find if I just go for covering the canvas or the panel first and then come back in and put the detail in first, because if I start putting detail here, I might not need any detail, so I'm sort of wasting my time. So I want it to be a loose painting. But I've got an exhibition on at the moment here in France that it's quite interesting, putting the paintings up, both myself and Kate. The more loose abstract paintings, they really stand out compared to the sort of perhaps the stuff which is a little bit tight. And it'll be interesting to see which ones sell, whether the loose stuff. So I'm definitely looking to continue painting loose. It makes painting a lot more interesting, and it's interesting to see how loose can you go with it before it gets a bit silly. So I'll go for painting this building. So I might just make a note of where the windows and things are, because I'm probably going to lose those in my drawing. So let's just put in, so there's the windows there. So don't need a lot of detail. This painting is not about this building, it's about the figure walking in the shadows in the sunshine. So a lot of this detail can be lost, but it might not be a bad idea just to make a note where a few things are. So that dark in there. I'll go a little bit darker with that, maybe just add a bit of warmth into that shadow. This is just a building that's in shadow. Again, that's going to be dark against light here, so that's worth having. There's actually another tree down here. Let's just put that in. We're just trying to get things in place while I've got a fairly accurate drawing still there. Thank you with the good luck wishes. But I sold a few there last time. This is at a tourist venue, so it's well attended. It's the house of George Sand, a famous writer in France. It's at the gift centre, or the Bureau d'Information. So I find with exhibitions, if you pick places that have a lot of footfall, you can do quite well. But I've never really had a lot of success with local craft fairs and things. I don't really do them anymore because they just don't get the footfall, unfortunately. Good intentions, but you do need lots of people to sell stuff. I've worked before I was an artist, a long time ago. I worked in sales, working for BMW, and when we did the sort of the big NEC shows, we have 250,000 people come that weekend. You sell a lot of stuff, but if you don't have the volume of people, you don't sell a great deal. So in the UK, I did quite well at National Trust places because they had a lot of people. So just painting sort of the shapes there. That will I'll come back into that. Let's get that red awning in there. Try that red there. It might be a bit on the bright side because I don't want it necessarily to compete with that red, but we can just desaturate it a little bit. Dark red in there, and then it gets a little bit lighter. Not towards, if I've added white to that red and it's just turned it pink. So I need to add maybe yellow. Steer it back towards red. So way too dark. There's a little dark bit at the top there, but it's almost just like pink. There we go. And just putting in shapes at the moment. That it doesn't look like an awning, but I bet when I get everything in place and step back from it, it will look like an awning. So more, that building actually comes under here, so I've got that car to be concerned about, and that's another area that perhaps needs to be fairly accurate. Let's just warm it up a little bit over here and just lose that in there. So you don't want to get too tight with it. So let's have a go with the car. So we've got blue car. This is a Renault. Now, either Renault or Peugeots in France normally. That's a lucky guess. So don't need very detailed cars. But, again, it's mainly about the figure, and by going too detailed with stuff that you don't need to go detailed with, it doesn't actually do you any favors. That you can end up not having anywhere for the eye to rest on. So the dark under the car is as important as the car itself. And these windows quite dark. And then this car here is off under the shadows, so I'll use a bit of that violet, maybe make it a little bit more interesting. And nice dark in here. Dark under there for the wheels. I think we'll go for putting the road in. So another bigger brush. Hi, Nahed. And Greg says he was trying to say he also went to the NEC shows. Wonder if I ever do without knowing. No, you might have saw me there possibly. Right, the road. So, what colour is the road? Purple. A bit of red and blue. And obviously that's way too dark, so add some white. And looks about right, but let's just do a check. I think it steers more towards yellow. So just add yellow. And that's how I kind of mix colours. I just ask myself, what do I need to add to it to make it more like the reference? so it needs more red. And if you know you're not sure, just ask yourself, does it need more blue? Well, no, because it's too blue. It's getting there, still more red. And eventually, you do this automatically. You won't even think about doing it. It's the right color, but it's just a little bit too dark. So just a bit of white, and that's close enough. So again, it doesn't look right, but I trust that I've mixed that color. And we've got some shadows coming across here at some point, but let's just cover this. And I think once you get the canvas covered, it starts to then, you can see where you're going. Is it heading in the right direction? Probably need to put the dogs in as well. It's probably not this color all over, but it probably goes more towards yellow there. But let's just pick up some of that. I'll probably paint back into this road and make that a bit more interesting. So things like when I'm going around this figure, instead of just cutting around really neatly and then it will just look like it's stuck on, don't be afraid to drag the brush and just paint into that bag. It just adds a little bit of, and then paint into the leg, and not maybe as much as that, but it just adds connection and it will just make the scene look whole. So I think we need to put the dogs in. So, hello, Paul. So let's get the color of the dogs, which they are kind of like a golden color. So red, yellow, possibly a bit of white, but maybe let's put the dark areas in first. So there's Rosie. Kind of where have I got these dogs? Just have to guess. So there's the tail. There's the back of the dog with the leg. And again, I only need to have the shape there that is believable that they could be two dogs. So slightly darker on this one. And it's much easier if you just look at shapes. I can just see that shape there. Tail coming off there, and then it's all just lighter. Rosie's got her tongue out. It was a very hot day. So much lighter, so big blob of white. Hello, Mark. So do a little test. That's pretty good. And this is very small, it's the size of my thumbnail. So I'm not looking to do a dog portrait. It's unrealistic, with these big brushes I'm using as well, that I would achieve, something that looks ultra realistic. So an impression is all I'm after. And same with Alfie. There's his head, dog leg. Like that. So let's put in that road around there. So let's just warm it up a little bit. There was my road. We'll use some of that. So just do a little test. A bit more red. Pretty good. So again, rather than just neatly paint around the dogs, if I actually paint into that dog slightly, it'll just make it look like it's part of the scene. At the end of the day, the eye will fill in the details. If a person is walking with something that looks like a dog lead connected to two shapes, that's what people will figure out. But, I think it's a little bit warmer over this side. And part of it is deciding what to leave out. What don't you need to put in. So I think these shadows are going to make a big difference. So we've got dark, light, dark, light. I don't necessarily think I need the cars off in the distance, but these parked cars, I'll just suggest those. So it's light across here, and then that road winds up there. That's quite a nice sort of curve. It sort of complements the curve of the hat maybe, and light against the top of the car. So that works quite well. So I'm going to put in the shadows in, and then perhaps put the blue of the sky in, and it's almost there covered. And let's go for the shadow colour. So I'll use some of this phthalo blue. Let's have a go with that, so we can make it quite an interesting colour. Bit of brown. So go nice and dark. We need the contrast. That's pretty good. It's just a bit more red and blue to make it interesting. So really load the brush up. So this is the figure. So this is a round brush, but I've kind of made it go flat. And then we've got the dogs. At the tail, that's going to be quite handy. And the other dog there. Now that's probably enough. We've got the cars, I've got the darks under there. Let's just do a little test. That's a little bit too dark. So just drag that brush across there, and that comes under the car there. And then they get a little bit smaller. So these kind of just nice little tools that lead us through the painting. Shadow under there. And then more shadows here. And we can use these to maybe just cut around that shape of the dog. But I think it's quite good when, you know, you can't really see what's going on here. It's just sort of shapes and so on. But I can then decide, you know, what needs a bit of finessing. But it's best to get the canvas covered, I think, and then make that decision. So we've got some trees off in the distance there. Let's put this, not sure what this is, perhaps a well or something like that maybe. Just get the general colour. Looks just kind of a muddy stone colour. Pretty good. Now it's a dark. So again, that looks way too dark, but you know, I've just checked it. It's pretty much there. And then that's got a little highlight on there. Again, sort of just telling the story that it's you know, a bright sunny day. A little bit lighter on the top there. So go back to another brush for a nice highlight. So let's just do a little test. That's pretty good. So just lay the paint on. That's fine as a mark there. Quick look at your messages. Yeah, definitely. No, just by suggesting the shape, no, already, you know, it's going to look like a photo, but it's not. It's so far away from that. You know, it's unbelievable, but there's enough there to make it believable. We've got some. Let's get the sky in. Let's get the canvas covered. We'll try and match this blue. I'll see if the ultramarine blue will do it. Blue and white. Little test. It's not bad. A little bit too dark. That's pretty good. That's nice sky blue. Mix on the palette on the paper. Not paper, it's canvas, board, whatever we want to call it. Do a lot of watercolour. Painted a watercolour today. Been a busy day. I did a watercolour this morning, a large full sheet, 30 inches by 22 inches for my Patreon page. I did a live stream yesterday, and the painting didn't go as well as I'd hoped on there, so I wasn't going to be beaten, so I had another go. So certainly with watercolour, I find it's a lot more difficult than this, because I know if I mix the right colour and the right tone, put it in the right place, it's going to work without question. Obviously, the only thing that may fail is if it's a bad composition, or I steer away from that method of just putting things in the right place. So I'm painting now here where this green is, but again, if that sky mixes in there a little bit, not a problem. But what I don't want to do is just pull all that green into the sky like that. So I don't want to lose that nice blue sky. So probably better to just paint some of that tree out into it a little bit, but we'll go with that. So that's the canvas pretty much covered. Hi, Tom. What is it? Can't wait to see how he blocks the sky in nice and flat without allowing it to obviously show. I always put mine in first. Yeah, I tend to find put the sky in afterwards. I think it's quite good that you can sort of paint around these sort of shapes, get more abstract shape maybe. That I think that can work quite well. So we've got some orange over here. So it's just an orange square basically, just an odd shaped square. It's actually a building, but let's not think of it as that. It's just a shape. That looks pretty good. So we've got a dark, put a light next to it. And literally just do that. Just pull the brush down and put that shape in. So I think we could possibly just vary that a little bit. So this is kind of quite fiddly here, but doesn't need to be. Let's just paint it simply. What do we actually see? There's a dark shape there, which is the barrel. So I didn't actually draw that in, but it's about there. So there's the dark part of the barrel. Side's the light side of it. There's a bit of blue there. Nice chance to put a bit of colour in. There's a bit of red sitting on top of the barrel. And then there's a load of green, which we've got some here, which probably do the job. And that's a great way to connect up to here. So maybe this is a flower shop, maybe, I think. Just put stuff in there. So we need some darks in here. Bit of red, blue. Maybe we can just go a little bit darker with some of these windows. And if I paint quickly, it helps to free up from detail, because I'm just putting in shapes. Let's make a little bit more of this tree here. Use that blue there. So it's dark down here. So maybe we'll have a sharp edge there. Might be quite good. And it's a looser edge around there. More yellow. Now start to just put thick paint on now, because we're getting the canvas is covered, so I can start to look at finishing the painting. So we've got quite a complex area over here, but again, maybe a sharp edge there, and we'll just lose a lot of that stuff in there. There's cars and so on in there, but we can suggest that by just put in a bit of red. There's a red car. There's grey colour, one from the distance there, and then just a few darks in there. Tom says maybe he's been a bit too finicky. Maybe, but I've definitely been finicky in the past. But it's quite good, I think, doing these demos, because I think, people want me to paint loose, so it forces me to perhaps be a little bit looser than I'm comfortable with. But actually, I think they work quite well. Dark there. Let's work on these trees a little bit. Might be worth putting in that pavement just as a lead in, just to direct the eye. Helps to draw the eye into the scene. And again, there's more flowers and all sorts here. We'll put some colour in there as well. You don't have to work from top to bottom. I quite often will, move about and come back to an area that if I find, that's just too fiddly, can't get my head around it, come back to it in 5 minutes and it'll probably be okay. Let's just get some of that blue in there. Maybe that's just reflecting the sky. We've got shutters. Actually, see a bit of a green tinge to there, so let's just run that brush down there to see what that does. Okay, a bit lighter maybe. Getting fiddly with it. Move away to somewhere else. Do some work on the trees. Your previous message, Tom, said, can't wait. No, I always get really obvious brush marks at the outer edges of my sky at last, but how do you prevent that, Robert? How do you keep the outline of the trees crisp and sharp? Well, I've painted the sky up to the trees, but kind of, not painted them in. So I don't want to mix that green into the sky. I did a little bit, but I kind of stopped. So what I'm going to do now is paint the tree over the sky. But I will load the brush up with plenty of paint. Got a clean brush here. So let's mix my yellow. So much more paint. Really, this is why you need a lot of paint out, because when you get to this sort of stage of the painting where we just want to get it finished, we do need to load up that paint. Let's pop a little bit of phthalo blue in there, just a small amount. Very powerful. Pretty good. So this is really loaded up. I can even just press down on there and make an odd shape. So I can just lay that paint on there. Maybe not as much as that, but just bring that over the sky. So I've got this is wet paint, this is wet paint, so there will be a little bit of blending to a certain degree, but not a lot. And suggest a few little highlights in that darker part there, but I don't want to lose the dark in the tree, because I want it to look like a tree. So it's lighter in here, and I say I'll just load that brush up and just roll it around, just make abstract shapes. I don't mind if a little bit of that orange comes through, but it's probably okay. We'll go with that. And then same over here. So just make tree shapes or leaves and so on. Now we'll actually connect those trees across there. Bring that up there. So what I'm not doing is blending at it, I'm just loading the brush up lay it on. But careful I don't lose all my darks, but just try and create some interesting brushwork. So we need some darks in there. So back with the same mix, blue, brown, kind of makes a black. Steer it towards yellow, green. So we've got nice darks in here. And I'm just looking at this sort of dark shape, how it sort of just moves through here. Really dark down here. Again, we've got light against the dark, which is what's going to make it look like a bright, sunny scene. I'm going to go for just a bit of phthalo blue, touch of white, just to cool this off here maybe. But blue tends to recede, so let's just throw a bit of blue off in the distance there. Put a slightly darker blue. We want it to be a nice, colourful painting. These cool colours in the shadows, maybe. So this is now just experimenting, see what I can come up with. And we have a few darker leaves, and this is a very worn, round brush, but it'll give interesting marks. I just tilt the brush, move it around. And it's dark under there. So I'm just careful not to overwork it. More of that blue, just to keep it interesting. That's enough, getting fiddly with that. Thank you for the super thanks, really appreciate that. All helps towards buying the materials and keeps these demos coming. So let's pop in these flowers along here. That's a nice little lead in to the scene. So we've got some red flowers through there. Again, I learned my mistake. I use white to try and make a lighter red, but actually yellow would make a better lighter red. There's the flowers going along there, and there's flowers in that shop. Careful, we're just putting red everywhere. Tail lights on those cars. We have the tail lights on that one. I'll go for white or headlights on this one, the front headlights, but it's not going to be white. So just mixed in with some of that grey there. I'm going to go a little bit lighter than the reference picture, and let's just sort out the shapes of these cars a bit better. So we'll have a little highlight on the top of the car in a moment. Let's sort out that. It's going to have a light on the bonnet there, as it's the light coming across. It's fine. And same with this car on this side. It's got a bit of probably reflected light by the looks of it. But don't need to get fiddly with it. I'm getting fiddly with it, so let's move on from that. There's a light underneath, not a light, the reflection of the car, it just breaks up there. But, really loading the brush up, that we can make more of that little bend there. Snakes around. That's quite interesting. Touch of red. So just looking where, you know, I can perhaps just increase the tonal contrast and just make that a little bit more interesting. So there's a shape there. So I need some darks in here. So kind of, as I'm painting, I sort of look around, and then you know, I just saw, you know, it's just, there's no darks in there, you know, and you do need the darks. So, and it looks like there's actually, you know, shadows coming across here. So it's quite odd because we've got a shadow, looks like it's coming across there, but the shadow's going that way. So I'm not quite sure how that is. How that's physically possible, but obviously it is. It's something on the road, maybe a drain or something. Just some random darks. And you know, I can use that to sharpen up any edges. So we've got a balcony in there. That'd be quite good to get in. I don't need any more fiddling there. So we'll need a small brush for that balcony. So blue in the brown. Nicely loaded up brush. This has got a reasonable point on it. So it comes across there. Just keep reloading it because there's a lot of white paint there, so that will milk up quite a bit. And that's a balcony. We don't need any more detail than that. We've got that lantern. I've only just spotted that. It's a nice little spot there for it against the light. Very French. So just bring that down. Again, it only needs to be a suggestion. So this is, say, quite a small painting, but so this is quite fiddly. But you just got to not worry about the fiddly details. You know, that's enough to let us know there's a lantern there. So maybe pick up some this dark green and steer it really dark. And you know, I've kind of just blocked these trees in, but you know, I can maybe suggest a few little leaves and even, you know, some branches or something maybe, and give the impression that it's a detailed tree. Do I prefer painting small canvases and large? Not necessarily. That I've painted small for a long time because the market I was selling in was sort of lower prices, shall we say. So small paintings, you know, would fit into that market. That if you are selling artwork, you need to look at, you know, the pricing for that market. There's no point in painting large paintings, you know, if it's just out the price range for that particular market. But now I'm kind of not necessarily concerned about selling artwork. You know, I have done some larger pieces that certainly when we moved here to France, I've got some quite large walls in the old barn, which has been converted to a studio. So it does need a few big paintings. So, but yeah, I quite like these small paintings because, you know, within an hour you've got a finished painting pretty much. So just some darks and odd shapes in here. So canvas is pretty much covered. Let's just get the it's a little bit too bright. So I think I need to make the figure stand out a little bit more, but not too much. You know, it's looking okay. But you You know, it's believable that there's a figure walking here, and the figure's part of the scene. That if I lose that, it'll be a shame. So we've got a bit of a gap there, so the road is in here. More reflections or shadows coming across there. Always get mixed up, reflections and shadows on painting. Say the wrong thing, but never mind. Let's just sharpen up that shadow across here, and let's put a bit of interesting brushwork in this, maybe. So light against dark, make more of that. And you know, if it doesn't look right, you know, nothing's set in stone with oil, that you can change things. Just a little bit of texture in that road. Bit of dappled light in there. Maybe just break that shape up a little bit. It's too blocky. Don't really need a lot more to it, I think, but bring that branch up there a little bit, make it a more interesting shape. Possibly do with just sharpening up the hat on that side. So let's have a go at that. Thanks, Greg. Will I run workshops, holiday stays, etc.? Well, I've got somebody, a subscriber, coming to my studio next week, so the live stream will actually be on a different day. I don't offer accommodation, but there are plenty of places to stay around here. I probably tend to do more one-to-one because it's difficult to get a load of people committed for the same day. I've done that in the past, sort of chasing people to try and get a group workshop. So certainly if people get a group together, I'm up for that, but probably more sort of one-to-one. So just sharpening up the hat around there. Maybe I'll put something else in here, a little bit of colour, but it's kind of lost in there, so that's fine. I've managed to lose the shoulder, so I can kind of see what's not right about the figure. It wasn't looking right, but it's because I've managed to paint the side of the road into the figure. Just a few darks in there, and let's put the arm back in. So back to where I started at the very beginning, and just checking the colour, a little bit more red, touch of white. Load up that brush, and that's that arm going down here. And I just need to sharpen up the red top. I've lost that now. Always a battle. It's probably got it. Gets to a point where you kind of just got to decide that's done, it's finished, that you know, you can keep going, but you will eventually lose that freshness. Got a little band around the hat, so we'll do that and then we'll call it finished. Notice that I don't dip the brush in oil. Note that these have got oil in them, which I've pre-mixed into jars, so there's just a buttery consistency. So when I finish this painting, I'll just put that blue back in this jar so it's not wasted. These were straight from the tube, but I didn't plan on using these a great deal, so you know, I have got tins for these as well, so So let's find my stick with a bit of detail. So, nicely loaded up brush with a dark. Get that little bit of detail. It needs to be darker. More paint. Just that dark there makes all the difference. And maybe that strap as well. So this is kind of just deciding where, obviously the dog bleeds, where do I need just to finesse a little bit, some sharper edges. Maybe a little shadow here or there. So dog leads, we've got blue and a pink lead. Alfie's got the pink one on for some reason. So we use some of that phthalo blue, we'll get a nice powerful blue. Load up that brush. So there's Rosie. And then the pink one, using that violet with a blob of white. That will do. There's one kind of last little look to see, there's a dark in there. I've kind of lost that a little bit. So possibly, I would finesse the dogs a little bit more. But perhaps I'll sleep on that, and it may not need it, to be fair. That sometimes it's best to just give it 24 hours before you sort of make any decisions and sort of lose the freshness of the loose brushwork. So there we go. That we'll pop it in a little frame, and I'll share that on Patreon. So switch to the other camera. So it's about an hour. So thanks for joining me live. That I'll edit this version into with some close-ups and so on. I'll share that on my Patreon page. Obviously, there's lots of demos on there, so take a look at that if you're interested. And we'll be live again next week. But as I'll let, if you join my Patreon page, you can join as a free member, and I'll put notifications on when I'm going to be live, because next week I won't be able to do a live on Thursday or Friday because I've got someone coming to paint with me from France. So until the next time, thank you for joining me live, and appreciate all the comments and all the likes and subscribes on YouTube. I'll see you on the next video.